Okay, we are back on the Feed the Narrative podcast. I'm really excited, as I've been excited about all of the previous ones we've done so far. But I'm excited today to bring in one of my longtime friends, Laura Jane. Laura Jane and I have known each other. I was trying to do the math before we hopped on here, LJ. I think 15 years. It was like
2009, 2010.
Yeah, 2009, 2010, and we are in 2015, so that makes sense. Checks out. Two communications people doing math.
You said 2015. It's 2025.
Oh, 2025, yeah.
That was a
So,
good year, but we're
yeah,
past
it
that.
was, and 10 years ago, according to math. LJ and I have known each other for a long time, and LJ and I got together first. We were co-workers at a healthcare marketing agency. We were on the editorial staff together before they looked at me and said, this guy likes to talk a lot. We should put him in sales, which is an interesting decision. But Laura Jane is in Chattanooga with me. She's done a lot of great work in the communication space. And I wanted to have her on today to talk about her journey with public relations as being a communicator who has all these different skills, but recently joined a new team in a new position and needed to kind of get more familiar with the public relations side of communication. She does incredible work, and I'm happy to have her on the podcast with me today. LJ, welcome. Tell us a little bit more. What
Thank
did I
you.
forget?
Oh, I don't know. Going from content marketing and being only a word person to, and like learning creative strategy, in our time at our healthcare marketing world together. And then as a freelancer, how I injected myself in other teams to bring content strategy to them. And then how I translated content strategy to like marketing communications and being a one-person team for a small nonprofit. It's been a really interesting journey. And I feel so empowered after Feed the Narrative and acknowledging what I don't know to continue learning and growing through that process. I'm a word
Yeah,
person trying
you're
to
a word
adapt to it
person.
in a spreadsheet world.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, I tell you what, we never stop learning. We never have to stop like honing our acumen of new things. And it's always painful to start that process out, but always when you get on the back end of it, you're like, well, I'm glad I learned this thing. So tell us a little bit about the position you have right now in terms of all the constituent parts, because I feel like what you're going to say, some of the people who might watch this down the road are in very similar situations. So can you break that down for us?
Yeah. So I think at nonprofits in particular and companies fewer than 50 people, it's not uncommon for marketing and comms to be one lumped together role. These are, and as Feed the Narrative knows, these are very distinctive roles and responsibilities. But like, how can I do my best at doing some of them? So I'm managing multiple stakeholders, different audiences. I've got the
Mm-hmm.
general public or class participants. We have a board that we answer to, our leaders, my boss. Internal communications kind of falls on me. External communications, our blog, creative strategy, social media.
Is it Friday
Um,
yet? I feel like I need a break after just hearing that.
yeah, it's a lot. Um, I have discovered that parsing it out into little bits and pieces, and I remembered something 2 days ago that there is no such thing as a content emergency from my past content strategy days. It's like, yes, these things all feel urgent and distinctively needy, but it's possible to do comms and marketing as one person. And for me, Feed the Narrative helped me see that I'm not alone and kind of what's the push I needed to find a bigger network of people like me doing the same thing out there. Just finding other comms professionals facing similar challenges was really encouraging to me. And hearing you as a figurative and literal cheerleader, encouraging me to inject myself into front end, being at the front end of decision making meetings, just to be a fly on the wall and to hear what's going on. Because there's no worse feeling than finding out about something third hand from a partner or something like
Yeah,
that. So
the comms person, the last one to know. Great.
Yeah.
That's a big struggle, just I think in general. Like whether you're for profit, nonprofit, Fortune 500, startup, it doesn't matter. Somehow the comms person, the person responsible for communicating whatever the big decision is to the masses, is one of the last people to know. Never quite understood that. It's like one day we'll figure this out. So that kind of hints to one of the things that I had told you I wanted to talk about was some of the struggles of having to wear all of these different hats. But I kind of want to flip that just really quick on its head. And I don't want to throw you too much of a curveball here, but in my position in the past, having to wear like all those different hats, and I've done it at a startup, I've done it in a nonprofit capacity, I've done it multiple times, even though it's been frustrating and it seems like I'm drinking from a fire hose all the time and I can never get to the end of my to-do list. There have been some positives to it. So maybe can you tell me like what have been some of the benefits that you've been able to experience in being like, well, I am the comms person. It all runs through me. Have there been any like wins or positive notes on that front?
Oh, absolutely. And I think as in a small, nimble team, party of one, I've had great opportunities to do things that I've never done before
Huh?
without as much oversight as you might find at a major corporation, right? I was on the news. With the support of my team, I'm promoting events and doing stuff that makes me really uncomfortable. But I find that if I do it 10 times, like it gets better and it gets easier. And I'm learning that I can do things that once before might have made me feel really uncomfortable
Yeah.
uh, and introverted. Being a one person team has shown me areas of opportunity, having a chance to start processes where we have none. And it's really encouraged me to step up and use my comms voice for internal type messaging.
Yeah.
I started an internal newsletter. We didn't
Oh,
have one
nice.
before. And it's one of my favorite things that I do. And I get creative with the emojis. It's just a simple plain text email. But more people internally say, I love that newsletter because we have a remote team. Probably half our staff is remote
Oh, wow.
across the state. And it might be the only main messaging they get from our organization
Wow.
every week. And so I make it fun, but it's also informative. And in fact, I let the good feelings from that newsletter carry over into the other tasks I'm doing. So it's like if I feel empowered to do internal comm stuff, what else can I put in the newsletter of like, hey, if you're starting a new class or a new initiative, let's get together and talk. Like I'm working with our Airtable specialist to come up with processes and I have to learn how to use Airtable. But pushing myself to do new and interesting tasks, while it can be very frustrating and challenging, is overall very rewarding and has been an incredible opportunity.
Yeah. My favorite thing about being the wearer of so many hats on a small team, again, this is typically, in my case, it's been startups and nonprofits, is the fact that I don't have to wait on like the bureaucratic stuff that people in big organizations have to do. Like, oh, it's got to go to this department over here and it's got to get checked off. And then they come back and they've got edits or they want things changed. No, I decide I want to do it. We talk about it in a meeting. I leave and I'm ready to go. Like it is implementation time. If you're in a place that lets you have that freedom and also lets you not bat 1,000 on everything, but like continuously refine the process, like it's a completely empowering thing and you're able to move projects forward at such great speed. I have so many friends who've worked at larger organizations and when they talk about like the deliverables they've been able to ship over the course of a year in smaller organizations, that's like a month, 2 months. Like you're able to like hyper speed your way through like getting this stuff out into the real world. That's my favorite thing. I don't have to wait on stuff.
I had a moment last week. I've been in this role coming up on a year, which is hard to believe. And we have external stakeholders that are, let's just say, very important,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even elected.
Yeah.
And I was working with a couple team members who were presenting to elected officials. And I was very proud of myself that I knew that if my colleague wasn't available to meet with an elected official, I had prepared all the documents and the talking points, and I knew that I could go in there and give the same pitch and have the same
Mm-hmm.
conversation. And that was a real breakthrough moment of being able to embodying the language and learning our organization's language myself enough to create a guideline for talking points and think strategically about what we do and don't say and how we position our information and all the audience understanding work that I did in my past careers,
Hmm.
and thinking of what their issues might be. And it felt like one of my first full circle moments. I've also had a chance, because I'm the lone comms person, that other teammates have become mentors to me. They aren't necessarily in comms, but they bring a background in comms and do their own level of like really great communications, even just like the way they communicate with us as a team and with
Yeah.
external stakeholders, that they encourage me and serve as mentors formally, informally, and continue to give me positive feedback, which is something about a nonprofit that there may not be an official feedback format. You know, it's not like you're getting
Hmm.
reviews every quarter necessarily. And so I'll take it where I can get it.
Yeah. Well, and those validators are super important in the communication space because a lot of the work that we do, the ROI is very qualitative. There are very few metrics. The one I talk about in the for-profit space is, revenue drives everything, revenue and profit. And so everybody's got to be able to point to those things. And that confounds a lot of communicators, whether they're on the PR side or the marketing side. It's really hard, especially on the PR side, to say, well, this news story got us 5 new accounts or something like that. That's really hard. Sometimes you're able to do that, but it's a really tough thing. So being able to hear back from your team and celebrating the work that you're doing, I mean, that's an incredible validator. And I'm encouraged to hear that from you, because when you went through the Feed the Narrative cohort, you were in the first one. What an awesome first cohort. I couldn't have asked for a dreamier inaugural cohort. You had essentially just started the job, and I think you were probably feeling a little overwhelmed in terms of all the things, not just the sheer amount, but like a few of those things like PR. That was something that, even though you had a long history in communications, that wasn't something that you had a lot of dedicated focus to. And so I remember you being a little anxious about that, but you had said that that was kind of like perfect timing, being able to go through the course there. So that's been like 4 months, 5 months ago we did that, which is crazy to think. So maybe some of the things that, over the course of the 5 months that maybe we've talked about, or during the cohort, the training, stuff like that, that you've been able to implement and maybe experience wins on at your new position.
Yeah. And I will admit that we still have an agency we work with to do some of the relationship management part of PR. And that's actually something I'm ready to do, but I recognize that my capacity is like, if I can lean on an agency to do some
Sure.
of that press release distribution stuff.
You probably understand better what they're doing, right?
Yes. And I feel like I romanticize it a lot less too. One of the biggest takeaways that I think about a lot is I felt like Big Brother David was telling me to set a strategy and make a calendar and set my goals to share with my boss, or our leadership, of here's what I'm going to do. And I did that immediately after Feed the Narrative. About a month later, I was like, oh, I already did that. I think I need to think bigger. I went to journalism school for magazine writing, and the content was validating in that it affirmed my gut feelings and knowledge about media relationships
Mm.
and how media works. A lot of pieces from the crisis communications chapter I've not had to use, but the before work and the
Uh-huh.
preparation work I've brought up in leadership meetings before. I've said, why don't we go ahead and have a statement put together and a plan for
Yeah.
this happening. It gave me confidence and reassurance that if I was thinking of that inside before, now I had words of like, we need to be prepared for if this happens. Because
Mm.
I don't want to say I'm naturally an anxious person, but I'm always thinking about the what ifs,
Yes.
getting more information around crisis communications was really reassuring to me. I have implemented that definitely. List management, I'm kind of beginning that still, again, because we're using an agency for some of that work. But I just feel more competent and confident in my day to day, speaking up for what I need and demonstrating my worth, and not my worth and value, but the value in comms, and
Mm-hmm.
more comms than marketing.
Yeah.
But demonstrating the value of being in decision-making meetings,
Yeah.
knowing what's going on in the organization, recognizing that high-level decisions affect everything in my work, from the messages we put out, the relationships I'm building with someone at the Times Free Press or the local newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
I still think about, I have on my calendar daily reading and writing. It's a little 30-minute block. It doesn't always happen in that 30-minute block, but I read the local media. I'm always staying in
Mm,
tune with what's happening in local politics because that affects our organization sometimes. Uh,
yeah.
and that encouragement through the feed the narrative content sticks with me still.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's imperative. I am always shocked when I run across people who are in communications who generally don't take time regularly to just consume information. And I cannot imagine just flying blind all the time. I mean, that's the first thing I do every single day, and probably one of the last things I do before I go to bed is at least like getting an understanding of what some of the national headlines are,
Mhm.
what the local headlines are, make sure I'm good on that front. Because we have Feed the Narrative, but we also have Heed PR, which is our agency. And as of right now, all of our clients are local clients, and so I have to have a really strong command of what's going on in my own backyard, and I'm always blown away when I come across people who are somehow clueless on what's going on in our own
Yeah.
city.
The part in Feed the Narrative about understanding national and local stories and how I can fit my stories into that.
Hmm.
For example, workforce development is on the up and up. Technical education in the K-12 setting and beyond, upskilling, and that's an emerging area of communications. Fortunately, my leadership team already recognizes this and is
Mm.
developing events and programs to meet those needs. It's kind
Yeah.
of what our organization has always done is like read the room and convene people. Also, there's kind of fun challenges that come from that. In particular, like I'm very curious as a comms person about the wording around workforce development and
Mm.
like the imagery and wording that is used around that type of programming. So
Hmm.
that, I'm always glad to be tuning into those conversations, reading and digesting and consuming information to better adapt my own comms processes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I wrote about it in the book, but the last place that I was an employee before we started our own agency was a cannabis company. And at the time, that industry was really starting to take off, but I had no knowledge of cannabis at all. And so I literally got to the office an hour early every single day so I could just read every single newsletter, every single media outlet in that space, everything I possibly could. And it took me a good 3, 4 months just to feel like I could have a conversation, a competent conversation with somebody in the industry and not make a fool out of myself, or at least understand, when they start using like jargon and stuff like that, I can actually follow along with it. And I do that. I have to do that all the time now too, because, we have clients on our agency side that we don't niche. I mean, they are in all these different industries, and I've got to keep up with all kinds of stuff that before I might not have given much attention to. But if I'm going to be able to score opportunities on their behalf, I've got to know what's going on in their space. I guess it's good for like dinner party conversation because I can hold a conversation with anybody about anything now. But yeah, I mean, that's something that I've built into my day. And if I don't have that time to actually review information that's out in the world, then I feel adrift. And that's not a position you ever want to feel like you're in if you're in communications. Okay, so one last question, because there are a lot of people out there. I would say the majority, if not the vast majority of communicators are in a situation similar to yours where you're having to wear all of these different hats, whether it's, internal communications, media management, marketing, stuff like that. If you had one or two pieces of advice for people having to manage all of these different responsibilities, what would that be coming from somebody who has now managed just about every type of communications possible?
Don't be afraid of what you don't know. And don't be afraid to ask to learn about those things. For me, putting my name at the top of a press release and my phone number felt horrifying.
Yeah.
Feed the narrative, again, that knowledge empowered me to feel confident wearing many hats and filled an area of knowledge that I felt deficient in, and like, how do I do the actual work of PR? I know what it is now, but how do I do the
Hmm.
actual work? How do I build it into my day? Don't be afraid of what you don't know. Don't be afraid to ask for training. Find a network. It could be an individual. It could be David Martin's videos where other people are facing similar challenges. Like in your content digestion, don't forget marketing resources or comms
Mm,
resources or the local PR group. When I started, I remember a few people saying, "You'll build your network very quickly." And I was like, ha ha ha, yeah, right. I can be introverted at times and I don't like big social settings where I end up all the time, you know. But they were they were right, and that I have built my network really quickly. And I'm not afraid to talk to other comps people about challenges that I'm facing
yeah.
and asking kind of, I feel like a little journalist asking questions of like, wait, you have what two business objectives? And they're very disparate, you know, very different
Mm,
things. How do you manage that? Like, and just hearing other people talk about the same challenges that I faced at, you know, a very high profile local organization was reassuring. I'm like, I'm not the only comms person trying to figure this all out. Yeah, build your
yeah.
network.
No, I agree 100%. It's interesting. I feel like there are some professions out there where people kind of keep to themselves, or they're not as willing to share knowledge, insights, maybe for competitive reasons or whatever. But I've always found that communicators, I feel like we go through a lot of the same trials and tribulations, and so we are very happy to spend time together. I've always found that, and very happy to share, whether it's commiserating, but then also, you know, solutions and ideas. It is one of the most congenial groups of professionals that I've found in my career. And so I 100% back what you just said. Like, if you are in a spot where you maybe don't have a strong command and stuff, you may feel overwhelmed or something like that, there are going to be other communicators out there who are likely going to be willing to spend time with you because they've gone through the exact same thing. And communicators, most of us are, or a lot of us, I won't say most, have some cheerleader backgrounds, especially on the PR side. Like, we are hypists. We hype people up all day. I gas people up all day long, and I enjoy it. And so it's always fun to get with, you know, some other communicators, so, you know, we can just gas each other up. It's nice. Well, cool. LJ, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me today. I guess for people watching this, we will have another podcast coming out very soon. If you want to learn more about Feed the Narrative, just hit us up at feedthenarrative.com and reach out. We'd love to hear from you.